Hello, everyone. Today is May 9th. We made it to May. We're alive. We haven't got killed by the coronavirus. I have a special guest, Emmy Purice. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Curious, that's
Purice.
fine. I've
Sounds
heard
better when you
multiple
say
ways.
it. And we're going to talk about AERC management and CLV. So those acronyms stand for acquisition, expansion, retention, and contagion. So managing your customers and your business through these discrete important points in the customer's journey. And then CLV is customer lifetime value. So the aggregating all the decisions a customer goes through to try to build out their value to your company as a whole, and then that can guide your decisions around what you're going to invest in and how you're going to engage with your customers. So let's start out by first having Emmy share a bit of his background. And Emmy, why don't you go ahead and share with us kind of your story before Oregon, at Oregon, and then after Oregon, real briefly.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thanks, Connor. I came to Oregon in 2013, and during that time, I was obviously a business student. And during my time at Oregon, I would say a lot of my time was dedicated towards obviously school, working. Rowing was a big part of my time at Oregon, and then being in AKSI. During my 4 years there, I got to have Connor as a professor, and obviously one of the best professors that Oregon has to offer.
Obviously.
So you should definitely pay attention to things in class, because there were times where I was like, "Is this going to be important?" And ironically enough, it actually ended up being important later on in my career. So I pay attention, especially customer lifetime value. But after Oregon, I ended up moving to a big tech firm up in Seattle, and working in advertising, which is what I wanted to do. Originally, I'd wanted to go to an ad agency, and I'd done interviews and whatnot, and it actually ended up not working out, and I was really disappointed. But I'm a big believer in when one door closes, another one is meant to open for you. And actually, in terms of how things have panned out over the last 3 years, I am so much happier I ended up at this tech firm working in advertising versus working at the agency. So yeah, I've been in advertising. I work specifically with pet and consumable brands. So a lot of CPG, a lot of pet brands, and it's been an awesome experience. I hope to share a little bit more about today.
Awesome. So yeah, in many ways, you're kind of like a advertising consultancy agency that's within a big company because you act as a consultant for your clients and help their advertising on your company's platform be more effective. You want to talk about like your day-to-day work? Should we show that video first
Yeah,
or after?
uh,
Why don't you
we
introduce
can
it?
talk about this and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially in the day-to-day role, the role as an account executive, but it's interesting because at this company, it's like the advertising portion. We are essentially an ad agency within the larger company. And not only do we help brands grow on site, on Amazon, we also help brands grow outside as well, right? At the end of the day, we're running digital advertising, like a TV advertising, all types of advertising you would get from any other partner. It's just we layer in the behavior data that we have, which makes it unique, and we're able to help these brands that we work with grow both on and off Amazon. This applies to both small brands and big brands. Being a challenger brand now is you have a better opportunity to grow in any time in history. But yeah, day to day, I would say I do emails, I meet with clients. We discuss ad campaigns, we go through reporting. We have teams that I work with to consult them on what the data looks like. As we run an advertising campaign, data continues to come in. And from there, we make calculated decisions on what steps to take next to continue optimizing towards the respective goals, whether it's awareness, consideration, or purchase in terms of acquiring shoppers, pulling new ones in, remarketing, or being able to do customer retention strategies. We essentially do everything you would imagine at an ad agency, and we do that with data-backed precision.
Sounds compelling. You got your sales pitch down. So how many clients do you have on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, when I first started, I had around 120, and then from there, now I only have eight.
Oh,
So I
wow.
work with eight
So
eight
you
brands.
lost 90% of your clients. You're highly effective.
Yeah, it's just over time as you continue to move on up and take on different challenges. But I've carried a lot of the ones that started with me because we've seen so much growth, and then I've obviously started working with some new ones along the way. But yeah, typically you start working with a smaller book with bigger accounts,
Yeah.
and then you work on more strategic brand building.
Cool. So we're going to show a video now that features you doing some side-by-side consulting with your client so that they can have a bit of an idea of what you offer, and then we'll be able to tie that into the discussion of customer lifetime value and AERC management. So I'm going to try to deftly switch over to show this video. Hopefully, can you see it, Emmy? Am I sharing the screen with you? Probably not.
I can't see it on my end.
All right, let me help you out. There we go. We're going to just do this. All right, ready?
Yep, you see it now.
Oh, what a cute dog.
Rocco and Roxy Supply Company started in 2013. Our philosophy is that we make the best products for pets and the people who love them. We make amazing small batch treats, bandanas,
collars, leashes, cleaners, our shampoos. We have over 50 products. We started around my dad's kitchen table back in 2013.
Okay, here's the layout for the new office space.
With me, my brother-in-law, and my dad.
We invested heavily in advertising on Amazon.
We use sponsored products to be there on page one with all the already established products.
The growth was pretty rapid. It just exceeded anything that we ever expected.
That Amazon could take a little company no one's ever heard of and let us level the playing field so we can compete with the big established brands. That was just amazing.
At first, we were just trying to get sales for individual products, and now we really want to grow our brand recognition.
We recently started using Amazon's Programmatic DSP. It takes our products to audiences that have never heard of our brand.
We're doing display ads and brand awareness ads that are driving people to our Amazon store so that they can look and see everything else that we sell too.
We've seen our brand search results have gone up every month over the last year.
Whoa, who's that?
Ah.
He looks so young compared to you.
You don't have to pause it.
Look, young, trimmed up beard.
Started using videos.
Pre-quarantine.
It has a lot more engagement than just a static image, so we're getting amazing click-through rates. It's probably the highest ROI of any of our different campaigns we're doing.
Working with Amazon, we've been able to grow this business beyond anything we ever imagined. Amazon will continue to be a big part of helping us get to the next level. Every time that we feel like we've maxed out our potential sales, they've helped us find new ways to introduce new audiences to our products. It's really exciting how many customers that we've found through Amazon that have become loyal, hopefully lifelong customers.
So at the end, they talk about finding loyal, lifelong customers. So they aim to, at first it was mostly you helping them with search advertising. So someone searches for pet, products, pet food, whatever. And they want to compete for the search results. And now you're getting them to be more proactive and trying to get their brand out there before the search.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially there's a reactive and a proactive strategy, right? You can't just do reactive and you can't just do proactive. You have to do both. So if somebody comes to search for either dog treats or searches for stay and odor, you should be visible and active when somebody searches for that, even when they search for your brand. At the same time, using behavior data, you should be able to go and reach out to these shoppers across the web before they even get to search for you, so that you're actually building up that affinity towards your brand, because that trust building process is so important to getting somebody to actually buy.
Yeah, familiarity breeds some sense of closeness or association with established memory, and then seems more trustworthy when you come towards the search or purchase decision. So it should make the search ads more effective if they've already seen some brand building ads before.
Yeah, we've seen that, through the data, that search actually gets more effective as you continue building up the brand, especially with consumables where you're either like dog treats or giving it to your dog to ingest. You really have to build up trust with that shopper to buy your dog.
Yeah, it makes sense. The dog is one of their most important or most valued assets. So what do you can you share a bit about how you talk with them about, okay, they want to grow their sales and there's, two different places they can really focus on, basically acquiring new customers versus growing existing accounts,
Yeah.
and how you have data to help inform those decisions, because that'll help transition us into the slides.
Yeah, we've worked together for over 2 years now. When we first started out, it was just literally optimizing search. How can we be more visible on search for keywords when people come to Amazon and search for your product? As we continue to build that out and increase visibility, we make campaigns broken out by branded category and competitor keywords and optimize there. And then as the business continues to grow through search visibility, we need to be more strategic in getting the brand out there and building it, which is where we started leveraging programmatic advertising. So being able to take those banner ads for their products and put them all across the web so that when you're on BuzzFeed or CNN or Fox News or anywhere you go online,
or this
you're able
video,
to see that ad, be reminded for this video, exactly, like a little product placement, and be able to reach those shoppers. And we did that through behavior data, which is a big part of what allows, what I love about being able to grow on Amazon is you have a family brand like this, that's a challenger brand, and they're able to grow and thrive as a business because of the tools that we help, leverage for them. And so as time went on, the data we're looking at is, how many people are in the aisle for dog treats, for example? How many people are currently purchasing your brand? How many are purchasing but not subscribed and saved? More importantly, how many people are in the entire pet store as a whole? And how do we start, everybody's at different stages in the journey. There's people walking in the store who have no clue of your brand, never purchased you before. There's people in the aisle for dog treats, let's say, that have never heard of you or purchased you before, but they need dog treats. People who are purchasing you, or people who have viewed you but haven't purchased you, and then people who are purchasing you but not subscribed and saved. So all those different stages, you essentially build out strategies to engage shoppers at each of those stages, and you set KPIs that are relevant for that goal. So if you're trying to acquire new shoppers, your KPI should not be ROI. A lot of brands will want it to be ROI. You have to challenge them and say no to acquire a shopper. You have to get them to your product page, educate them about the brand. And then from there, as you continue to leverage what I call the multi-goal approach, as you continue to leverage that, you're pulling new shoppers into the brand. You're getting them to visit your products. Eventually, as they build trust, they're going to convert, and that continues to grow your brand over time. Now, leveraging that with being visible on search is the way that you continue to grow. And as time goes on, you continue to expand your growth, start engaging more of those branding tactics to give people a reason to choose you versus the endless number of products on the shelf online, right?
Yeah, so one way of thinking of ROI, return on investment, is you might have a really low return on investment for your brand spending, but that's going to make your return on investment for the search ads or retargeting or kind of re-engagement ads way more higher in the back end. So you might have like lower front end but higher back end when you think of that front end back end as a customer journey from no knowledge to an established customer who might turn into subscribe and save and just continually buy products, or get them from a dog treat to one of the other product lines that might be just released. So that fits in perfect with today's topic. So I'm really glad you reached out to me like a week or two ago just to check in, and I forget exactly what the touching point was, but then we talked about several things.
You won some award. Now it's like, wow, look at this guy winning awards.
Nice, yeah. Appreciate always having you and former students reach out for whatever reason. But yeah, because you work with all these brands through these different points of the decisions in the funnel, it fits perfectly with today's lecture. So a lot of management practice is just taking something complex, taking something, a big system that seems kind of overwhelming, or how do you actually pull on any one lever to see how it ripples through to affect your business, and you just try to break it down into a bunch of small sub pieces, and that way you can start to get a handle. You can have KPIs or key performance indicators for each kind of sub process in the big system. And so from a marketing standpoint, one of the ways of breaking everything down is through the customer journey. And so that's what we're talking about today. And so this is the bathtub model that Emmy was sleeping through in class, but now he walks his clients through every day, which is basically thinking of all your kind of customer touch points fitting in the customer journey, whether it be something towards acquisition, so just the initial familiarity with your brand, the kind of pre-building some sense of familiarity and awareness, um, maybe move them from awareness to interest. And then at the search stage, if someone's searching for dog treats, that's more they have intent to buy, right? So that's a point of acquisition. So it's really close to that first trial acquisition, and you can do different promotions to try to convert. And oftentimes, if brands think they can retain a customer for a long time and keep them for a long time and have some subscription revenue, they'll lose money basically on that acquisition of that customer, meaning the amount of profit they get from that initial sale is much less than the amount of money they spent trying to get that customer, because they have hopes of retaining and expanding that customer over time. So then once you get them in the door, they're an existing customer. They're on, let's say, like an Amazon platform or any platform where you can kind of see them over time. You can say, okay, let's grow this customer. Let's get them to not only buy a dog treat to one of the other products, but then also paying a lot of attention to which customers you're losing and trying to make sure you're retaining them, and thinking about who's most likely to be potentially lost to defect, and look at any interventions you can make to try to increase your retention rate. There's also strategies to win back customers. So you lose a customer, maybe they switch from your brand to a competitor brand, or they just leave the category completely. Is there anything you could do to re-engage them to get them to come back, or at least give you information about what you could have done better in the first place to have prevented losing them? And then the last kind of C in this, so A for acquisition, E for expansion, R for retention, and then C is contagion. So kind of like we're thinking about with coronavirus, the R naught, right? How contagious is the virus under different circumstances? Well, under normal circumstances, it seemed like it was super contagious. But if we have some type of lockdown or get people to wash their hands more or wear masks, it becomes less and less contagious. But basically, you're trying to get an existing customer who could be like a host to convert someone else into being a new customer. And if you can have numbers and KPIs on that, then you can kind of build programs, which I think we've seen a huge rise in spending overall in advertising and marketing on these kind of promotions or incentives based on referrals. So, hey, if you refer a friend to Uber Eats, you'll get $20 off your next meal. Right? So basically, they're thinking that'll help me get a new customer, and it might even help me retain or grow my existing customers through these referrals. Do you guys do any referral campaigns with your clients?
In terms of like referring a product to one or another, no, not really. I mean, we do different strategies of like if you're purchasing one product in the portfolio, or we can do audience lookalikes, for example.
Yeah, those are cool.
So we can find customer A who has purchased your product and has these behaviors, and then find a lookalike of somebody who has the same behaviors but hasn't purchased the product.
Yeah, that's a really powerful leverage of like AI, where you can have all these data points around behavior and maybe some other demographic information, and find someone who looks very similar, so you would have more confidence that $1 spent on engaging that customer would have a higher return on investment because you saw some pattern. What about what platforms do you advertise on? Obviously, Amazon has its own platforms with the website, the app, and even boxes that get shipped to the house. But they're getting into TV and stuff like that. Is that something that any of your clients are looking at, or is it mostly just the existing website and app?
No, actually it expands way past the website. I mean, we have relationships with the top 100 ComScore sites. So like any website you go to online, any blog, I mean, we, through header bidding, we're able to get on those sites and have the ad be visible. And that's just the programmatic portion that we call DSP, or demand.
So I go on New York Times and there's an ad on the side that could be you guys.
Exactly. And then the other part of that too is, you know, with the video version of it, DSP video, any video you watch online, let's say you go to ESPN and you want to watch highlights, you know, that 15 seconds before your video plays, that ad is also another thing that we can leverage.
Okay.
And then connected TV has been huge. I mean, OTT, you know, the ability to reach somebody at home on the largest screen in the house and be able to make sure somebody was relevant and interested, and then having a 97% video completion rate, That's a huge opportunity to give somebody your message and make sure they're relevant, right? It's not cable TV where you reach X demographic. I can show you a TV ad for people who actually want dog treats versus just demographic data.
Yeah, so I searched on Amazon for dog treats, and now I'm about to do my yoga for beginners on my Amazon Fire TV, and there's a pre-roll ad on that, and I just kind of am on my yoga mat ready to do some bad stretching, and I got to watch some dog treat ad.
Well, yeah, it's reaching you at relevant times, and with how people interact with their TVs, and they're watching group settings, maybe not now, but as people are more home now and spending time with watching content, whether it's through IMDb TV or through different apps on the device, it's a good opportunity to tell people about your brand and be able to educate them on it.
Yeah, IMDb TV is a new interesting rollout. Why don't you? A lot of people know IMDb, the website, but who owns IMDb and what's going on with that advertising?
Obviously Amazon owns IMDb, and then we have IMDb TV, which is a new streaming platform where you can go and watch content, movies, TV shows. We're just producing content for it. If you haven't checked it out, please do. It's pretty awesome. But it's an opportunity to give consumers more content, right? People want content, want to be able to stream and watch TV shows and movies. And through that, it gives advertisers also an opportunity to reach shoppers through there as well, because it's ad supported, right? So IMDb TV is free, but it's free because it's supported through ads, similar to how YouTube supports their free content and movies through advertising.
So can you remind me again what year you graduated? Was it 2016?
We graduated in 2017.
2017. So I think you were maybe the second year of students where I had several students get hired by Amazon's advertising unit. But just from the time you've been there, can you just speak to the growth of Amazon advertising as part of the business? It's one of the places where Amazon makes tons of profits, and then there's other aspects of their business where they lose money, but it's growing rapidly.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to hear you talk about it.
Yeah. Well, in the time I've been there, it's grown very rapidly. We have such smart teams that are building out tools and resources that are meant to help advertisers, right? You think of advertising in the 50s where it's is there anything even working? We're running all these ads.
Yeah.
There's so much of an opportunity that brands have now to get data, to be able to understand what people are buying, why they're buying it, how to reach more shoppers. And obviously through that, because we're, innovating on behalf of customers, which is a big tenet, we're seeing growth through that, right? We care about the customer. Amazon is very customer obsessed. And I've seen that through my own eyes, and it's awesome to see because, when I go and work with these brands to advertise, it's amazing to see them grow and see them benefit from it because it makes you feel good, right? It's you helping these brands go, but Rocco and Roxy, for example, they're a family business, but seeing them grow and watching them grow, it's you're a proud dad watching your son grow up and your daughter. It's so there has been good growth, but just innovation on behalf of customers.
Yeah, I feel like every year there's more and more students from Oregon are getting hired into the advertising part, and the Amazon offering is so dominant because you can go from these brand building advertising to search advertising to actual purchase and then retarget with emails, and it's just at all these different touch points, consumer packaged good brand can reach their customers through Amazon. So one kind of expanding on that, one way to manage this whole process is to try to put your customers into cohorts. So you want to think of every kind of few months or some bracket of time, all the new customers you acquire there, you want to monitor them over time. And then you might do A/B testing where half of those customers get one experience, another half gets another experience, and you can see what the effectiveness is of any campaign, or compare them to the group ahead of them who didn't get whatever the new initiative is. And so then you can start to see over time different cohorts are kind of have different spending patterns or spending behavior, and those are oftentimes in response to the changes that a business is making. And so you think about okay, what was the efforts that we put into acquiring this latest batch of customers? what were their needs at time of acquisition. So maybe you segment within all the people that you acquired within the past year. You might say, well, these people came in for dog treats. These people came in for dog food or cleaning supplies or whatever. And so you might think of them as different groups of customers based on the source of where they were acquired or what they were acquired with, in terms of were they more an organically acquired customer or did they respond to one of our ads, and also what they buy. And then from that, you can see, okay, does that predict retention rate? Maybe certain customers came in and they came in because you did some big ad campaign, but then they left right away. So they had a lower lifetime value than someone who maybe came in organically or came in through a different product announcement, and those people might had higher retention rates a year later. And so you can have a different value assigned to people that were maybe acquired through different campaigns, and then that can inform the next batch of campaigns. So this is kind of, we've been talking more from kind of looking at the numbers and the KPIs, but it's really important to interview these customers and talk to them and get a sense of how their needs are changing over time. Like their kind of first encounter with the brand in terms of pet food might be as a nervous new pet owner. They just got a dog because they're in quarantine and they want to kind of use their energy in some social positive way. And then a year later, they might not want to, spoil their dog as much. They just want to make sure it's healthy or something. So kind of the psychology of the owner or the customer at any point in time can change and their needs can change. And so some of that you need to be more getting qualitative interview type data, just getting on the phone and talking with customers and understanding their motives at each point in time will help inform the effectiveness of all the different things you do at each stage of their life. So this is kind of just, in general, it's kind of three aspects to it. So do cohort analysis. In terms of a college like University of Oregon, that's like freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. Create a marketing action for each point in the customer time and customer life time, and then have some KPIs, some key performance metrics or key performance indicators that are diagnostic. So you can see like, damn, our retention rate fell down from 85% to 50% for this cohort. Let's go find out why. Let's call them up. Let's come up with some hypotheses, some ideas about what went wrong, and then we can try to figure it out. So sounds like you help your customers start this process. How many of them are already doing something like this before you kind of got with them, and how much is Amazon being the consultant that's teaching them this kind of AERC management?
Yeah. I would say in terms of how many, if the question is more like how many are running like multi-goal strategies like this, where they have multiple tactics. Before they got to me, not many were. I mean, it's, I have large brands too that have been around for 80 plus years.
Yeah.
And they've been leveraging it to other channels, let's say, or through agencies traditionally. But in terms of like doing it through Amazon, it's been, you really are a consultant at the end of the day. And so that's where you have to like, look at the data, look at their data, and then put together like information that's helpful to showcase. Here's what I see on your end. Here's where we need to be growing. And based off your concerns, here are the actions we need to take to help continue to hit the goals you have in place for this year. So I would say a lot of them have spent a great deal of time on this. And even once we're running and we're doing it, it's always a consistent re-education of reminding what the strategy is and how this all works. So you're constantly having to restate that narrative.
I think that's a cool example also how a lot of students of mine think that they don't want to work in sales because they think of it as just persuading people to do something they don't necessarily want to do, where you're in sales, but you're a coach. You're coaching them to kind of use better techniques, leverage all the assets you have to provide, and then with the end goal of having them grow their business. Because if they don't grow their business, you don't grow your commissions, you don't grow your, you don't hit your sales targets. So.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I always tell brands like, my goal is to get you to grow and to get you to, continue to seeing like the opportunity of investment in the right areas. If you're not growing, then I'm not going to recommend things that won't help you grow. But you really are consulting because you work with I work with the same brands for 2+ years. And not only are you like, the this advertising sales rep. You're also the analytics consultant. You're the creative specialist. I mean, I've helped these brands with everything from ad copy to design to content. I mean, you really video, you really do everything, and there's so much learning in that you wouldn't really get elsewhere. So it's an amazing learning opportunity.
It's neat. Yeah, I imagine these are the types of questions that you use to structure your conversations, like who are we targeting, what are we offering, what's our promotion, thinking about return on marketing, not necessarily in terms of sales, but in terms of whatever the key objective is for that stage.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions that I'm kind of missing when you look at this list around each of these key behaviors? They're slightly adapted to each one.
Yeah, I know we have different terms for everything that we use on our end, but yeah, I would say in general, it's pretty much right there. It's in terms of who are we acquiring, who is the shopper, how many shoppers do we want to start reaching out, what kind of creative do we want to use in terms of retention, what metrics are we looking at for that in terms of where do we aim to be at in terms of growth on that end with ROI, and then for long-term growth, customer lifetime value. How is the repurchase rate impacting our business? How is it fluctuating over time? How are we growing the subscribing phase? And then looking at that data as well. When we have so many data points that we look at, we try and
keep
put
it
together
simple.
a report takes some time.
Yeah,
keep it simple, but also find relevant data points, right? To be able to understand what's going on. So, for example, you would have a bunch of add to carts, people who added to cart, but then really low conversion.
Yeah.
What's happening in that timeline between somebody adding it to cart and then they're not buying. So
yeah, I do that all the time just to mess with people like you. I'll just throw random things in my cart and then delete them. And no, I do remember during sometimes it's stupid. It doesn't matter because it's so small. But sometimes if I own I'll own stock, I'll own Google stock or Amazon stock. And there'll be brands I don't like because whatever they've done something in the past I didn't like, and I'll click on all their ads on Google or on Amazon because I know it's building the brand that I don't like and giving money to the company that I do like. But
there is mechanisms in place to prevent that, though. So maybe wasted effort.
You should see all the retargeting emails I get from all these brands that I don't actually like, but okay, so it's amazing how this one slide can basically be you could just print this out and not know much more about marketing management, and it could structure your kind of weekly decisions and weekly discussions and kind of organize your life as a brand or product manager. But we're going to move on a bit. Also, I want to shout out Contagion, which is often under-focused on just which of our customers are helping us get more customers, how can we help amplify that, and then of all the different ideas we have, is it the best return on marketing option? So pretty simple, but very informative. This is how you map that to actual tactics. So you always want to think about segmentation in marketing, so thinking about how customers are different and how do you recognize those differences in some meaningful way. If you do that better than your competition, you'll likely gain market share. So in terms of over time, we can think about people who are in different stages, recently acquired, long-term, lost, nearly lost. We could do further segmentation beyond that. Behavior or needs-based would be ideal. Demographics is less than ideal, but sometimes it correlates with those underlying behaviors and kind of psychographics, needs, motivations. We want to understand the triggers that drive migration from different kind of camps. So you talked about that a bit earlier, Emmy, with thinking about, how do we transition someone from an existing customer to subscribe and save? What's that triggering event that converts someone to become more of that subscribe and save customer? We're going to have lots of options, and it's good to be creative and think of different things and not shut them down too early. And the nice thing with digital marketing and when you have the data of who's actually converting and who's going from the shopping cart to purchase, you can be creative as long as there's not a huge cost to creating the content. It's very easy to create several versions of content. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket. You can constantly be iterating. So if you think about different customers with high customer lifetime value, that's usually who you want to prioritize. and then also take steps to try to increase your average customer lifetime value. One thing that can be key with this is looking at your existing customers. Where did they come from? So how did we acquire them? I think an example with that I like to think of is, you remember when Groupon was kind of huge? It was like the most exciting thing in branding and marketing.
Yeah.
So it was like Groupon had the daily deal where you could go to, like, every day you could go on and there'd be some new local restaurant or something that would have some awesome deal. And those restaurants, let's say an ice cream shop, would lose probably 50%. They would give so much money to Groupon and cut such a big deal off the cost of their products that they would lose money off every kind of customer that came in to redeem the Groupon. But Groupon sold it to them as, hey, you can acquire all these new customers and then they'll stick with you for a long time. The problem is, and why I was very kind of bearish or skeptical of Groupon, is I was one of those users and I never was a repeat customer with a business I tried, because there's always some new deal on Groupon for like the next ice cream shop. So people were very loyal to the Groupon deals, but not loyal to the businesses that. So Groupon just kind of ran through all the people willing to advertise, and then all those people realized that they were acquiring customers from Groupon, but those customers were not having good retention rates. They were not sticking around. There was no lifetime value.
Unfortunate.
So one thing you can do in terms of marketing and marketing management is try to come up with some formal positioning statement that captures the who, the what, and the why. So who's the customer? What are you offering them? What's going to resonate, and why is that the case? And then you want to think of like creative tactics that you can execute for each of those. So a choice model would be the kind of fancy, and you probably have that going on in the back end at Amazon, is a bunch of choice models where they're just seeing behaviorally, did they or didn't they, and what were the predictive things of did they or didn't they put it in the cart, didn't click on the ad, actually shop. But once you have that built out, you can try to think of the elasticity of different marketing tactics. So if I change my price by this percent, what's the impact on the percentage likelihood someone converts? And I'll have that in my class with, you probably did a marketing engineering choice model customer lifetime value assignment. Do you remember that?
You know, the one with the smartwatch or something like that?
No, smartwatch is segmentation, but
oh, no,
that one was maybe Airbnb. I don't know if I had that for you.
Yeah, I think I remember the Airbnb.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Trying to.
I do remember doing some sort of.
Yeah. It's sad. It's like people are like, yeah, I liked your class. Like, what do you remember from it? Nothing. Oh, okay, good. So yeah, different stages. There's different kind of tools that generally help. But for prospecting, oftentimes that's talking about SEO when it comes to online and digital. So HubSpot's a company that helps other companies with their inbound marketing. So trying to get new customers to land on your website or to click on your product page on Amazon or wherever. And so making sure that the content on that web page, the content on that Amazon page is really well designed, and both for having the right search terms and also to convert really well. So have you used HubSpot? Are you familiar with them? Do you guys have your own internal tools to try to help your clients with optimizing their content for search?
Yeah, it's all internal for us. We have tons of teams and assets and tools. I mean, I know what HubSpot is, but we don't use any of that. It's all internal.
Yeah. So if someone builds a business outside of Amazon, they might be using something like HubSpot or some agency. And if you're doing something more through Amazon, then they'll have proprietary tools. And they like having that because that keeps their customers loyal, because it's like, hey, we got the knowledge that you're looking for. So,
yeah.
But yeah, just thinking about how many prospects is it worth trying to put your brand in front of? What's the cost per all those prospects? And then can you have some type of quality scores, which can help refine, these metrics you're going for? So do you guys have quality scoring, or I guess prioritization?
In terms of who to reach out to with the ad placement.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's in a black box. I do know it's like programmatic, for example.
Yeah.
Let's say me and you both look at coffee, right?
Yeah.
And let's say we both leave Amazon, we go to our own different web pages. Because programmatic is still bidding, right? Like back, if it was 1985 and I was a coffee company, I would call up the New York Times and I'd be like, I want my ads to run New York Times
sports section,
and boom, exactly, sports section. Nowadays, the milliseconds before that web page is loading, there are multiple ad servers bidding on those placements. Let's say, Connor, let's say you were, looking at Ford trucks, and then you're looking at coffee, and then you were looking at ice cream places near you, and
how did
whatever
you know?
else, like house building. Yeah.
Are you looking at my search history?
No. But if you're doing all those things, and let's say there's brands engaging with advertising, they're all trying to bid on those ad placements on the web page on, let's say, ESPN before that page loads. Now, let's say me and you are both going to ESPN, and your behaviors, the system has determined, right? A lot of our stuff is AI, to where if your behaviors are aligned, I think the KPI of the coffee campaign is return. If your behaviors match that of somebody who's likely to purchase, our ad server will bid more to make sure that ad placement shows up when that web page loads. If I'm someone whose my behaviors that I've taken so far do not align well with somebody who's likely to convert, it's not going to bid as much for me. And so we have dynamic bidding in that process of being able to see what is the quality and who's the shopper, and if they're worth reaching, we'll bid more.
So they might bid more for me than you, but they might get their ad in front of you and not me because someone else comes in with a higher bid for me, but no one else comes in with much of a bid for you because you're not a good customer.
Yeah. And we have some advantages to bidding with our relationships with the Core 100 sites. But,
so if you put through so much money, if your brands are putting through, you aggregate the total spending of all the brands on your platform, it's pretty giant. So then you can get some advantage with your partners, like the ComScore companies.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing some research with a PhD student that you might find interesting on this. So there's been some hubbub about not putting the programmatic ads against certain content that might be offensive. So like they call it like hard news or negative news, so like a terrorist or like an article on child abuse. It's just something that's like, very upsetting. And so we're curious if there actually is this negative spillover effect on the brand that advertises against this negative content. And then if there is some negative spillover, is there anything that can be done to correct it? Because the concern would be that all kind of advertising just dismisses the kind of important, hard journalism that, as a society we want investigative reporting done on. But if no one wants to advertise on it, then potentially that limits the kind of reason to invest in it if you're a journalist organization. So we're curious what the brand's ads could do to mitigate it, and also the website could do to mitigate it, assuming there actually is a true negative spillover. But
I mean, I haven't experienced myself, but we have so many brand safety mechanisms in place to prevent any ads from appearing on not ideal websites. Brand safety is a huge priority for us. So especially with even like customer data, huge priority. So your ad appearing on some sketchy website is very unlikely because of all the brand safety mechanisms built in place. And additionally, even through like our partners with Oracle and LiveRamp or data aggregators, we're able to negatively target websites that have certain keywords and specific terms. So it's also preventing that.
What about like a safe?
And then we can.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a safe website though, like ESPN, right? So ESPN, that's fine. That's brand safety. Like no brand's scared to advertise on ESPN, but it's a story about like domestic violence for a famous athlete, or remember Michael Vick with like the dogs dog fighting. So it's a story about Michael Vick dog fighting, and like the computer says, "Ooh, dogs. Let's put a dog ad against that, like dog food ad against that." Do you get that micro with it, or is it more just like at the website level versus the content level? Do you know?
With the Oracle keyword specific negative targeting, you could get to that level. I would say it's not something that I've seen requested typically. And there's a lot more brand safety things than I even know about,
Sure.
just because there's so many mechanisms in place.
Yeah.
But in terms of brand advertising, I mean, we can blacklist, whitelist websites and whatnot. It's just going to be, I haven't had that experience yet where someone's like, oh, on ESPN, they go the dog. I mean, and I don't even know if like ESPN would like necessarily showcase that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like we're engaging shoppers who have shown interest.
Yeah.
And like example, if you were looking at Stay in Odor and, you know, we remarketed you with a video.
Yeah.
Like, we know you've shown interest in it, you haven't purchased it yet.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a video that plays before your content, like, you've engaged with this, so you're going to be familiar and know what you're saying.
Yeah, that's cool. Another Oregon PhD student is looking at kind of the feeling of the creepiness of being followed around on the internet by all these retargeting ads where they know you looked at something and then now there's a video ad for it. But we're trying to understand more what the psychology is behind like the discomfort with some of that following around. I don't know. I'll try to reach out to you if I ever find out anything that's novel or insightful on that.
Yeah. No, please do.
The other aspect of acquisition funnel is going from prospecting, just trying to get first awareness and interest to more closing. And that might be someone's shown some interest, shown some intent, and then how do you make sure that they end up, buying your product? So just very simple things. What percent of your prospects convert? And what's the cost of conversion, and understanding like where they came from, what they initially looked at, what kind of their path was to conversion can be helpful, especially you might want to use that forward-looking to predict their retention rate, as sometimes customers acquired from different channels are less likely to stick around. Okay, so I have different key questions for each of these aspects of the business, but they're pretty straightforward, pretty obvious. I don't know if there's anything in particular that I want to touch on, but is there anything that you feel like is novel or that you're introducing to your customers or your clients recently that use as like kind of a new aspect of helping manage their kind of customer journey or engaging with customers at different points that's kind of fun or exciting?
Yeah, I think an exciting thing that we do is we look at the audience data of how many people are in the journey. Like I mentioned earlier, like we can go to a brand and say, hey, we know there's, X million people in the aisle for dog treats who currently have never viewed you or purchased you before. And we can build out a targeting string to reach those shoppers. So we can target people who have recently shown an interest in dog treats, and at the same time, negatively target anybody who's purchased your brand in the last 120, 365, whatever time period. So then you're ensuring that only new people are seeing that. And then from there, we can show you, we call it new to brand. We can show you what percentage of those sales are from people that haven't purchased you in the last 12 months. So then we can see from a campaign, hey, you have 70% new to brand. That's awesome to see. That means a lot of these sales are coming to first time shoppers.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can, talk about like your repurchase rate is 70% in the last 12 months. So 70% of people who have bought you have repurchased. And then we can showcase how many repurchases between 1 to 10 plus. And then from there, in terms of building up that customer lifetime value, I want to talk about it now. We talked about a little bit earlier, brand customer value.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, brand customer value is our way of taking, working with the brand and leveraging their information and working with them to showcase, how do we show you customer lifetime value? And so using that, customer, using that shopping data from the brand's own like sales metrics, we're able to showcase, let's say you want to have a goal of $15 million in sales this year as a brand. We look at how many new shoppers do you need to acquire, or how much do you need to get your current or new shoppers to continue purchasing? How do you get them to bundle more? So let's say before they were only buying your coffee. Now you want them to buy your coffee beans, your pods, and your teas. And that increases the average order value, right? And so we build out this data showcasing, okay, the average person, let's say, purchases from you 8 times a year with an average order value of $50, aka, your average customer like lifetime value in the last 12 months has been X dollars. From there, with advertising, how many new shoppers do we have to reach, or how much do we need to increase your bundle size? And so that like that's been super
Yeah.
helpful in giving brands an idea of what they have to do to build out their long-term growth,
Yeah.
because it shows you acquire more shoppers or get your shoppers to buy more of your product.
Yes.
And from there, we talk about how we can target new shoppers to help reach those new shopper acquisition goals in order to hit their sales goals.
That's great for this lecture because it's like starting with this big picture fuzzy goal of grow sales 15% and then back into it using these different kind of points of where you can pull on some lever to acquire new customers that have never seen your brand before. And I like that also because you have the psychology of like, okay, this is a first time customer to the category or an existing customer in the category, but first time to you. So the type of ad you might want to design for those kind of users would be very different than an existing customer who you might want to expand from just coffee to coffee and tea. And so a lot of that is segmentation because obviously it's not exactly consistent across your whole customer portfolio. And then having discussions around like, do we want to upsell? So maybe from an existing dog treat to a fancier version of the dog treat with a higher margin or cross-sell. So going from dog treats to also toys.
Yeah.
The other thing that isn't probably as relevant for you, but is something that businesses should think of, is how can we decrease our cost to serve? So can we be more efficient in keeping our customer satisfaction high or keeping our retention high, but actually spending less money on an ongoing basis for each customer? That might be more something that you guys at Amazon try to do, which is like, all right, how can we get Emmy to be just as effective with his clients, but not have it cost so much for Emmy to be so effective with his clients? One thing that's kind of next level, most brands are just worried about the basics of this, but kind of a next level brand would be thinking about how these decisions actually have some interdependencies. So the things you do for acquisition are going to impact your ability to retain. The efforts you do for retention might help you with acquisition because you can get some spillover. You can get a very satisfied customer who's going to bring in some other new customers, act as a brand evangelist. So, in retention, there's this kind of whole new movement around customer success, and it's this idea that especially in B2B, all these B2B companies would bring in a new client, they'd acquire them, they'd sell them some service or some product, and then there'd be a low utilization rate or some initial dissatisfaction as people tend to psychologically overestimate how easy it will be to start something new, and then once they kind of experience some difficulties or struggles, they think they'll never kind of improve, and so they just want to dismiss or abandon. But you kind of got to invest in working customers through that initial trough of disillusionment, where it's like such big expectations, some initial pain, and then fighting through that initial pain to get to success. So trying to make sure your customers are successful as a whole and successful using your product. Gainsight's a company that focuses on that. But just thinking through all these different questions, I'll let my students kind of read through them on their own, or anyone watching this online can kind of think of how these relate to their own business. But looking at changes over time, so are your retention rates stable? Changes across customer types, obviously there's going to be variance. Any particular triggers? So oftentimes you'll see a spike in defection, and okay, what caused that? And so you can kind of go in, investigate it, build out some hypotheses, talk to lost customers, and try to figure out if these two things line up together, there's highly likely for some dissatisfaction. What can we do to either right some wrong and regain trust, or to keep that from happening in the first place? So it's data informed, but it also takes empathy, takes talking to customers, takes understanding what happens. Contagion is just converting a satisfied customer into a new customer. So this is an old screenshot, but Uber was, giving $30 of free rides if you could get a friend to sign up. So it's just like shows you that like if the new customer gets $30 and the existing customer gets $30, then Uber thinks the new customer is worth at least $60. So they're going to lose $60 up front and then hope to make it back over the long haul. You have to have a really high level of confidence in your customer lifetime value estimation to be willing to put $60 into just acquiring a customer in the first place, especially for like a consumer service. Here's Bevel. they wanted me to invite my friends to use Bevel. And one thing I thought that was interesting about that is I just bought the product. It hadn't actually arrived at my door yet, and they're asking me to invite my friends. And I'm like, yo, like, I haven't even tried you out. I'm not going to recommend you. Like, you got to get the timing right. It shows like a good campaign done at the wrong time is a bad campaign.
Do you like it though?
I mean, I don't like shaving, so I get all the nicks, and I thought this would cut down on all the like, Gillette says you shave so close, but then you shave so close you get ingrown hairs. So I wanted a not so tight shave, but anyways, they got acquired by Procter and Gamble. I liked the CEO. I followed him on Twitter, so that's why I bought it. But
Nice.
yeah, I see that you're not doing much shaving either.
Yep, that's right.
James Harden over here with the duck hat.
Oh my God.
Another thing that is kind of big in digital marketing, but has some places other is growth hackers. So that's just people who are paying attention to all the data and then trying to think about small little tweaks that can be done that can basically help out with your KPIs. So I thought this is a good example. Birchbox. This is a friend of mine who posted this on Facebook a long time ago, back when I used to have Facebook. And they just basically added an adjective right here in front of her shipping address. And then because of that, she noticed it, took a picture, thought it was funny, and put it on her social media. It got 21 likes, which for me would be a lot of likes. But it's just so cool because it's cost them nothing, right? How much did it cost them in extra ink and time to add a little adjective in front of the name of their customer? And then it just they could probably see some huge spikes in social activity if they had some social media monitoring. And then hopefully
on that note too.
Yeah.
On that note too, I feel like now with e-commerce, so much of the buying you do is online, so you're not in a physical store anymore. Yeah. What I've seen is like, especially with customer service and just being like active as a brand, doing stuff like this, the more you can do to bring your brand to life and like, get people excited and like do cute, quirky things, that makes you stand out and that makes people share you and talk about you more versus just like, here's your product, enjoy.
Yeah, Birchbox is, well, at least originally was run by some brilliant marketers. I forget their names. There's this one lady who, anyways, but like deciding to put the box pink, right? It just stands out when it gets delivered. And they would tell their customers to have it sent to them at work. They said, oh, people are stealing boxes from front porches. Give us your work address. Well, it is true that some boxes were getting stolen, but they also really wanted it to be at work because they realized that if it got brought to the person's desk at work, all their coworkers would say, hey, what's that pink box?
Smart.
It's like such small. I mean, what's the cost of the color change in the box? Maybe like 10 cents a box, but it just sparks extra conversation. That's one thing Amazon's done a lot, is investing in boxes and advertise them. I would love some service to help me deal with all the boxes. I would order more from Amazon if the amount of boxes I have to crash every week was.
You're not doing fun activities at home with your kids with the boxes, doing little robots.
And we've done them all. So this is kind of another way of just kind of being a more detailed version of what we've all talked about, thinking about segmenting different customers at different points in time, maybe high potential versus low potential customers, and all these different paths of conversion, which is basically you could have a whole, if your business is big enough, a whole team dedicated to each one of these paths, right? Just from 1B, like I'm just going to focus on converting triers into satisfied customers. Or a big place to do is take customers that are likely to leave and save them and keep them and turn them into loyal customers. Because usually if something's gone wrong, that's a place where if you can make things right, they'll become very loyal because they've seen that you've kind of made up for past mistakes. You're flexible, you're understanding. They can trust you more. I'd say even like if you're just trying to make a niche in the world, like focusing on path number 5 and becoming an expert in the psychology and the tactics that work around winning back potentially lost customers, you know, you can even put on your resume like dedicated to customer recovery or frown turnaround strategies. Something silly that captures.
that exact wording was on LinkedIn. Frown turnaround strategy expert.
I bet you there's not a lot of other people out there with that language.
Most likely not.
If you dedicate yourself to it, and build a whole brand around it, I bet you'd become in high demand because a lot of businesses recognize like we won the customer, we got them to try us, they liked us at some point, and then they left us, understanding why and how to fix it. So let's see how far are we in terms of time so far. We already got an hour into this. Maybe I'll skip these, but these are just some videos we're going to show of Amazon investing in these different programs like Amazon Go. I can show the 30 seconds of it, I guess. Where was it? And how those can kind of fit in with other aspects of their business in terms of customer acquisition or not. So
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically.
Yeah.
So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously. Vision and
Those
AI.
banh mi sandwiches are great.
yeah, is that your go-to? So yeah, why don't you just
I would say so.
speak to a bit how this fits into your business or your help with your clients. So if Amazon has this technology rolled out, or even with Whole Foods where you scan for your discounts and that links to your Amazon account, how that impacts you and your clients.
For advertising, we haven't yet fully tapped into it yet. They're still rolling it out. Clients love seeing it. When I have clients visiting, we always go to the Go store. We just opened up a newer, larger format grocery store in Seattle, which is a Go store, but it has more of what a normal grocery store would. The exciting part of it is obviously just the ability to let shoppers have that ease of convenience and go in there and pick out what they want, put in their cart, walk out, and just, right? People always saying, I'm on the go, I'm busy.
Yeah.
All right, well, here you go. You have all the access you need. And in terms of where I could see this being like a big part of the future is, if you're a large coffee brand or any brand really running a campaign for advertising, right? My belief is that if you're visible in somebody's online journey, you'll be remembered in their in-store journey, right?
Ooh, that sounds like a nice...
Somebody can see your ads on TV. Yeah, I haven't copyrighted that yet.
You got to copyright that, man.
Check your screen time, right? The average person spends 4 hours a day on their phone, just their phone alone. If you're visible on somebody's phone all day, and then let's say you go to Target or anywhere else, and you see that same product, you have some remembrance. But anyways, with the Go technology, I think for advertising, a huge potential opportunity would be you have a coffee brand running a large ad campaign that's digital, and then as people are buying the coffee brand in Go stores or stores that leverage this technology, you'll be able to showcase that in-store sales increase from people who engaged with the ad online for the coffee, but then ended up buying it in the store. And that will help connect the piece between brick and mortar and digital that doesn't currently exist besides offline 3P studies that have been done.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a great kind of way of tying the whole journey in the consumer packaged goods space, especially now you got Amazon with, their Amazon TV. You can even look at like product placement. They also own Twitch, which is, huge place for brand advertising, and then tracking through the conversion. And ultimately, like a lot of this comes down to better data and understanding where you have profitable customers. So if you look at all your customers and you allocate the cost to serve and the revenue generated from them, a lot of them actually companies would lose money on. And that's fine as long as you have good data on those customers. So they vary across customers, but they could vary across time. So you might lose money on a customer today, but hope to, over time, increase your revenue by increasing through cross-selling, upselling, and then you've already paid the cost to acquire them, so that goes away, and hopefully the cost to serve would decrease over time. So if I can, as a kind of brand, spend extra money to acquire someone who might, I show all these advertisement, I whet their appetite for my brand, they get curious, they go to the store, they buy it, and I see that conversion rate. Okay, I might have spent $60 to get them to buy one coffee, but then I could retarget with some Amazon subscribe and save, and over the next 4 years, potentially make tons of money off them. So the key to all this is having a sense of the customer lifetime value, and if your model is well built, then you can justify some heavy expenses up front. It can help you prioritize your efforts. So how much should we spend to acquire a customer in segment A? How much should we spend to retain customers in segment B? Comparing across the two, what's the best use of any additional dollar we have to spend? Are customers remaining after incentive ends? All these types of questions we can use a CLV approach to help answer, which is just a form of customer-centric accounting where firms value is the sum of the cash flows accrued over each customer's lifetime. So I always try to think, like, how much is Xfinity making from me over my lifetime? Way too much. I need to call them up and tell them that, like, I can't afford to pay my bill anymore and see if they'll give me a discount. I heard they're handing out discounts right now very generously, given.
I'm having the worst time with them. My internet in the last 2 weeks, it fluctuates. One moment I'm like getting 200 megabytes. The next moment I'm getting 0.38 megabytes per second. I'm just like, I don't know what to do anymore.
I mean, the huge challenge is everyone's, working from home, school from home, Netflix, video games from home. So like internet usage has just gone up like crazy. So I don't know the infrastructure challenges, but yeah, I just right now I have internet at this house and the other house because I'm using this house as a office before we remodel. So it's like I hate you, Xfinity, but no competition. My lifetime value for Amazon would be a scary number. Like we get the Amazon credit card, they give you 5% cash back. I forget what it was, but like the end of the year they sent me an email like, you got like $5,000 cash back. I'm like, does that mean I spent $100,000 on Amazon last year? Like I don't know what it was. It wasn't that much, but it was scary.
2 houses, 5,000 cash back. I mean, you have some other side business.
No, this is a transition. It's not like that.
Kidding.
I did buy Amazon stock a while ago, which has helped with some of this. I figure if they're going to take all my money, I might as well invest. But
hey, it's convenience, right? You spend on Amazon because imagine you're ordering like, let's say 50 pounds of dog food. Do you really want to go lug that by yourself at Safeway, or do you just want it to show up at your door?
It's convenience. It's having kids. It's not having to worry to remember to buy something when you go to the store. It's avoiding the parking lot. I'm thankful for it despite all the problems I have with the company. Mainly that they don't pay you enough. That's my number one problem. Okay, so we want to think about customer heterogeneity, which is the differences across customers and dynamic effects. And so discounting money that will be made way into the future because we'd rather make money up front, but also recognizing that potential to make revenue in the future is important. There's also trade-offs. Should we spend more on acquisition, expansion, or retention, and how's their dependencies? So CLV, there's lots of fancy formulas, and I'm sure Amazon has some proprietary algorithms for all their customers, but this is a very simple one that I think is a good starting point that applies for most businesses. So we can say the CLV, or the lifetime value of a customer, or a customer that belongs to a certain segment, in dollars, is equal to the margin, which is for like any given unit of time, let's say 1 year, how much revenue do we expect to get from that customer, and subtract out the cost to serve, which, if there's a product component, could include the product's cost of goods sold, but it could be not necessarily a product. It could be, buying a service. So this is cost to serve encapsulates all the efforts we put into retaining that customer, making sure they have a high quality experience, making sure that if we need to provide training for them, if we need to provide a good, customer coach like you are, which is a salesperson slash coach, right? You're hopefully increasing the revenue when you work with your clients, but you're also increasing cost to serve because your time is, worth a lot. So we want to consider that's well spent. It also, with cost to serve can increase the retention rate. So hopefully, while it decreases your margin, your R right here, your retention rate goes up. I is the discount rate, which is just the idea that time is costly. So any money we can get today is better than money we're going to get into the future. And there's uncertainty. So we don't know if you're going to remain a customer. You might decide to stop working with Amazon, or you might shut your whole business down. Like pet food or pet serving companies might be in a good place right now in coronavirus world. But if you're a transportation company, like, good thing all your clients aren't like airlines and vacation spots, right? Like, you kind of got lucky.
Yeah.
I imagine most of your clients aren't cutting back too much right now, but a lot of other places that rely on advertising and like travel are hit hard. You seeing any softness amongst your clients, or is it holding up pretty?
Any what?
Softness in terms of aggressiveness on spending?
No. I mean, pets in general as an industry is pretty recession proof. Even during the 2008, pets actually grew 10% then.
Wow.
Especially now as pets become a bigger part of the household and spending. I mean, that people are having children and more people are having pets.
Yep.
It's continuing to be a big priority.
Yeah. That's good to hear from your standpoint. So yeah, R is the retention rate, and that's huge. And so R and I together create this whole kind of ratio in the parentheses that we call the multiplier. So you multiply this number times the margin you get from any unit of time, let's say 1 year. And if you have a really high retention rate, right, the numerator's higher, and also the denominator gets lower because you're subtracting out the retention rate on the bottom. So like a 90% retention rate, 99% retention rate, you start to see a lifetime value that's really big. Even though in any 1 unit of time you might only have a margin of $10, but if you have a 99% retention rate, you multiply that by a big number. Now all of a sudden that can justify spending a lot of money to acquire that customer. So the last part of this formula is acquisition cost. So it's the amount of money it would take to get a new customer, like that existing customer that has a certain CLV. So if I can say, through lookalike modeling, we know this type of customer has a CLV of $150. We can do advertising to try to acquire a new customer with that same lookalike properties that maybe it'll cost us $50 up front to acquire them, but they're worth $150 in terms of our CLV. So that's $100 we just basically gained by spending $50 now. And now you won't get all that $100 today. It'll come over time, but you can estimate that value is worth $150, and so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably the conversations you're having with your clients to try to encourage them to spend more, is a lot of that brand lifetime value you were talking about.
Yeah, we look at lifetime value and total growth on Amazon or on the site or anywhere else they're growing. Just because, it's low price products or consumables,
Yep.
ROI is not going to be big, right?
No.
If you're selling a $20 bag of coffee
And making $2
the ROI,
profit, yeah.
not even that, maybe 50 cents
Yeah,
on
wow.
advertising,
Damn.
right? But like, how much are you growing total volume wise, right? There's that aspect of it. And then two, it's, that long-term growth is what's going to help you grow because, expecting a huge ROI on a low-price product is not going to be that common.
Yep.
It's like, I always tell brands too, it's like, would you rather have a $20 return and $10,000 in sales?
Yeah.
Or would you rather have a $1 return and $500,000 in sales?
Yeah.
What's going to help you grow more?
Yeah, it's like, would you rather be Walmart with low margin but tons of volume, or Nordstrom with, not as much volume but a better margin? Nordstrom's
I found out yesterday.
Yeah, not worth as much.
The Nordstrom I worked at, in Clackamas when I was in college, they're closing down.
Oh,
I got so sad. It's a great place to work at.
Yeah, we both bonded a bit when Emmy was a student because we both worked selling shoes at Nordstrom in college. Similarly to like a lifetime value, I would try to frame the purchase decision for customers in terms of how much use they're going to get out of a product over the lifetime of the product. So I would try to encourage them to maybe buy a fancier pair of boots if they really loved it, saying that, well, if you're going to wear it, 50 more times, divide the total cost by those additional wears, and it actually might feel like a deal. It's kind of, part of it is like the sales and putting people in the right mindset, but part of it is true in that you need to be forward-looking and think about the kind of use or revenue as a whole, not at just one point in time. So
in that perspective too, I was gonna say I'm sure you provide a great service, and being charismatic help bring those same shoppers back in, asking, "Where's Connor? I want to buy shoes from him." And that's what helped them come back for more.
No, I was the new guy, so I would always go up to someone and be like, "Hey, can I help you buy shoes?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm waiting for John to come help me." And I'm like, "John's not even here today." And they're like, "Oh, I'll come back another day." I'm like, "Wow, you must really love John." Cause
I feel that.
I would never have that established relationship because I was always just coming in for the summers. So ultimately, you're trying to do the old song, like make new friends, keep the old. One is silver and the other is gold. So do you want to invest in your acquiring new customers or growing your existing customers, is kind of you talked about. You can't really answer that question without customer lifetime value, because you want to see that there's diminishing returns for any dollar you spend on any of these AERC. So like if I spend infinity dollars trying to retain my customers, I'm not even going to get to 100% retention rate, because some people will just like, if their dog dies, then they're not going to spend more on dog treats. Or if they move to a different country where they can't take their dog with them, or they're going to buy from someone else. So at a certain point, additional money spent on retention isn't going to increase the retention rate enough to justify that additional spending. And so if you think about it in terms of customer value, there's some optimal point where you want to spend that amount of money on your retention budget to get the most customer lifetime value possible, given that the kind of return and retention rate starts to flatten out at a certain point. And then once you reach that point, you can kind of start optimizing between, do we spend more on acquisition or do we spend more on retention? And without this, you're just kind of going with your gut, you're going with the instinct, you're at the whims of your boss if you're a kind of lower level brand manager or product manager. And so the good news is, with more and more data, with more and more sales online, more and more companies are using customer lifetime value as a way of structuring their decision making, which I think makes it a better place to work. As you talked about, like, it feels exciting when you help your clients grow their sales and they can see that working with you has helped make their business more effective. You have to have the right metrics. So I'm going to give my students some exercises to do, and basically they're going to use this formula, but the challenge with it is like, how do you allocate costs? So is something an acquisition cost, or is it a cost to serve, right? So you can have a whole accountant's debate on like, okay, we spent all this money on Amazon Studios buying, different content and producing content for people to watch movies and TVs. Is that helping us acquire new customers? So it's an acquisition cost. Is it cost to serve because it's making them, an existing customer is basically getting more value out of Amazon Prime, so it might help the retention rate, but it impacts the cost to serve. So you need almost like an accountant to allocate all these different aspects of your business to each individual customer and to different aspects of this formula. But once you kind of have a sense of that, then you can evaluate different options. So I have this exercise sheet that I think is great, not because it's good problems, but because there's a pun. Yeah, anytime I can work a good pun is a good day, a day well spent.
Oh man.
But that's it.
It.
That's it for today's lecture. So students, be on the lookout for these exercises. I'll give you bonus points if you, or participation points if you send them back to me correctly. And Emmy, I want to close with giving you a chance to help your fellow ducks. What is it? Ducks fly together, or some Mighty Ducks saying like that?
I think so.
Well,
I feel bad for not knowing.
Well, or once a duck, always a duck.
Ducks fly together. Yeah, once a duck, always a duck.
I think Ducks Fly Together is from Mighty Ducks, the show. You got your hat on.
Probably.
You got seniors who are nervous about graduating into this market. I think you and your backstory is interesting. You know how to grind. You know how to stay optimistic. What's your words of advice?
Words of advice?
Maybe share your backstory too if you want to. It's kind of unique. They might have picked up on your accent.
Oh, yeah. So I was born in Romania. I have 8 siblings. I'm the last of 9. We grew up in a little village of like 7,000 people. When I was born, I was the fattest baby born in my city. I weighed over 14.3 pounds. I actually beat the record. It's the only achievement I've had to date in life. Honestly, and when I was born, the nurse dropped me on my head, didn't tell me, but he ran away. I basically had a cracked head, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, he's not going to live." And I'm like, oh shoot. Anyway, so then I somehow survived that. And then 2 years later, I was on a farm, and I fell down brick stairs. I cracked my head again. And they're like, yeah, he's definitely not going to live. And if he does, he'll have severe mental difficulties. So unfortunately, they're right about that part. But I ended up living and being fine. Then we came to America 4 years later. Just kind of like, trying to figure out, like my parents, I'm giving them props for taking that risk with like little money and coming to the U.S. But yeah, ever since then, it's just always been like, obviously, if you have immigrant parents, you get lectured every day for anything you do. I mean, even I call my mom on the phone, and she'll be like, are you wearing a jacket? I'm like, no. She'll go back home and put a jacket on, and she'll lecture me about wearing jackets. But yeah, I would say in terms of like as you graduate, a big thing is just really own your brand and be who you are. And like, especially as you go into interviews, don't be someone you're not. Like in our Amazon interviews, when they asked me about like, why Amazon? It's obviously, I was like, it's challenging, it's innovative, but at the same time, I was like, hey, there's a huge rowing community in Seattle, and there's a lot of good Thai food. I like both of those things, and I want to live somewhere that I can enjoy. And they appreciate that, right? If you're not yourself, you're not going to like come off as natural. So be who you are, and like, there's only one of you in this world. There's not millions of you or billions of you. And then just constantly take time to learn. I mean, it's so easy out of college to get caught up in like, oh, well, I'm not taking classes anymore.
Yeah.
Find ways. I read books. If there's one book I can recommend, you've heard of it before, I imagine. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. That book has been my absolute favorite. It's obviously old. But all the self-help books I've read in the modern day that have come out, every single one of those books pulls from that original book. So I recommend reading that. But yeah, if you head into the corporate space, really, really manage your brand, because you are a brand. And if you don't manage that brand effectively, you're not going to see what you want out of it. And also, like, everybody goes through a quarter life crisis when they get out of college. I did it. Everything will be fine. There's just like a weird, like, oh, this is it now. So just take it on, take care of your health, stay connected with people, continue learning, and just be yourself, and that confidence is going to be, it's going to carry you through.
I love it. You got my book recommendation in there. You got inspirational story. Overcame your brain damage and even passed my class. I guess I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. If I can get you that, then you're good to go. I mean, if I made it through there, I mean, you have no worries.
Yeah. So when you talk about you are a brand, what are the like? How should people think about that? Like, you don't want to turn them into something inauthentic. Like you talked about that being yourself.
No.
So you're a brand, but you want to be an authentic brand. So what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
what are like the questions that guide thinking of yourself as a brand?
I just think is everybody that I interact with, right? Whether it's a CMO at a company or it's, like my friend I see when I go to Starbucks or whatever, treat everybody nice. There's no reason to be a jerk ever. There never is. There really isn't. Like every person you talk to, like get to know a little bit about them, like know their name, know what they're interested in. Like there's so much power in being a good person and giving everybody the time of day and respect. I think now more than ever with technology, we've become so distracted and not in tune with conversations. Like it's little things like if I'm having a conversation with you, don't pull your phone out, right? It's an immediate sign that I don't value anything you say.
Yeah.
And as you continue, especially when you go into interviews and whatnot, follow up, right? A big thing is following up. Whether or not the interview went well or whether or not you're not sure how you felt about it, always send a thank you email. Like when I got hired into Amazon, one thing that they said is like one of the reasons they hired me was during my interview, I'd ask them about like their favorite donuts and what they like to eat as desserts. I ask unique questions. I use that time. And after I found out they were gluten free, they had a celiac, and I sent them in the thank you email a recipe for gluten free donuts and how to make them, and then I also sent a recipe for how to make a huckleberry sauce because they're a big fan of huckleberries. And they told me that's what made them want to agree to hire me because it was that. So it's like I just did that to thought, okay, cool, like donuts. I love donuts.
Yeah.
Like they should be able to enjoy them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's stuff you already know, but when you actually put it into practice and remind yourself every day, I mean, I still reread that book in the mornings, right? It's a great lesson, but just be who you want to be good.
I think one thing that you added in there is beyond just like being a good person and trying to embrace that and, putting away your phone, all those things, but it's also being unique, right? If you're going to be a brand, you have to be unique. So for you, if it's like you have an interest in cooking, which I know you do, and food, then kind of let that shine through. If you love rowing, like let that shine through. So think about something genuine that is unique about you, and then not hiding that and like bringing it forward in a way that's positive, that's going to make a positive impact on the people you're interacting with. So,
100%.
I think to me, to be a brand is you have to be authentic and you have to be unique. So how can you be authentic and unique in a positive way? And I haven't read that book, but I have definitely read the Wikipedia page on it because I've seen enough. And just even that Wikipedia page is like a bunch of sayings. So I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's good. That's true. That resonates.
Favorite book of all time. I tell all the people I mentor at work to read that book, and it's fantastic.
I think even reading books people recommend or like, and they don't resonate with you is good because it's kind of, you want to kind of read enough and broadly enough that you kind of see what does resonate and what doesn't. Although I guess that one's a classic for at least a lot of people. All right, let's close there. That was, I feel inspired. I want to go do something with my day.
Right.
Go do some push-ups. No. All right. Can anyone reach out to you? Mentorship, advice? If they're in Seattle, I guess there's no way to meet right now. You can't get a coffee, but
if anyone's interested in learning more or anything, obviously reach out to me. I'm not kind of the quickest response times because bandwidth is a little bit crazy right now with work. But if you have questions, there's any way I can help out with, if you have interviews coming up, like a role or anything like that, please reach out and I'm more than happy to help. If you are applying to Amazon or any other tech company in Seattle, make sure your resume is star format, aka what's the situation, task, what action did you take, and what was the result. Like have actual metrics in your resume of like, I did this action which resulted in X% increase. Don't just put I led this and organized this, because that doesn't say anything. Like, show actual results, and that'll get your foot in the door a whole lot farther.
Yeah, I think you
But
want to say what your skills are in the language of the person hiring you. So convert your past to the problem they face, and then provide evidence of that skill set using metrics or something. That's a good tip of advice. I have on Canvas some resumes and resume advice for students to peruse, but also trying to get someone who's a little bit further along in their career, maybe just a former duck, to give you feedback on your resume, to give you advice, and asking them about their journey is good advice. If you want to reach out to Emmy, he is time constrained, so send him some Top Pot donuts, I think, right? What's is that the brand
Top
for you?
Pot's up, yeah. I'm still a fan of Blue Star in Portland.
Okay.
They can make great donuts, but I've been limiting donuts recently. This quarantine. I mean, you travel so much in this job that I was traveling nonstop, eating food and donuts across the U.S., and now I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna eat some sweet potatoes and chicken.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, definitely reach out if you have any questions or anything. I'm more than happy to help.
I still think they send you some Blue Star donuts. They'll get your attention. I don't know how they can find out where to send them to, but I let Top Pot, man.
You're good.
Top Pot, old-fashioned Top Pot in Seattle. I missed that. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time today,
No
Emmy.
problem.
I'm going to pause the recording.